Good evening and welcome to another episode of Business Today, a program of Channel I Rupavahini where we talk about the current business matters and how a person can overcome these business problems and go on with a better business life. Well, to do that, we have personalities that bring in the glamour to the business world. So let's go and check our personality. Our business personality today is a person with many talents. It's not easy being an entrepreneur, and especially when you are a woman, how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. So let's go and see who our business personality today is.
Nayomi Handunnetti, an entrepreneur and a marketing professional with over 15 years of experience working for some of the biggest corporate names in the global market. She has specialized in marketing, hospitality, tourism, and travel. Nayomi has a proven track record in following international business process to successfully deliver a large-scale project while keeping to stringent requirements and timelines. She commenced her entrepreneurship journey with Handun Villas and Restaurants in 2014. She is the founder of www.thesyrian.lk. She is a recipient of Asia's Top 50 Women Leader Awards offered by CMO Asia 2018. Woman Super Achiever Award, World HRD Congress 2017. Most Influential Marketing Leader for the World Brand Congress 2019. Upcoming Woman Entrepreneur of the Year Award by Women in Management Sri Lanka and Maldives year 2021. Grant recipient of Tourism Resilience from the Sri Lankan Tourism Alliance 2021.
It's definitely not easy, isn't it, to maintain so many profiles, so many awards, keep the momentum going, especially in a challenging world, and especially with the ongoing pandemic and how challenging it has been. So let me say a very good evening to Nayomi Handunnetti.
Thank you, Kosala. Good evening, and thank you for having me at Rupavahini Channel I. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So let's start things off. How challenging is it to be an entrepreneur? And what made you become an entrepreneur?
All right, so I started my entrepreneurship journey in 2014. Where I started off at Handun Villas and Restaurants. So it was the construction phase in 2014. And being a woman in trying to set up a hotel, and we approached the bank for a bank loan, and it's just point blankly, no madam, you're just a startup, and you're not, we can't give you a loan. So I've been challenged by many ways, including the social stigmas that's around a businesswoman or a corporate leader. But I think I've been able to overcome those, Kosala.
Right. So obviously that's a challenge. But just what made you become an entrepreneur? I know that you've been working with a lot of corporates at the start.
Yes, actually, I've always wanted to start on my own. That was, I would say, not when I was schooling as such, but when I got into the corporate world, I saw the opportunity to do something different, to serve the country, and especially being a woman, I see when I speak to a lot of people, females, that the opportunities that we have is limited by, it can be due to family commitments, or it can be societal norms, or whatnot. So what I thought was, why not I venture out and get the females to kind of be an inspiration or a motivation for females to follow through. So that's what really inspired
women
me.
empowerment has become a very important thing in your day-to-day life.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
going on, I've been told that you collaborate with 3 businesses apart from the Handun Villas that you recommended. So especially with the ongoing pandemic and how things are moved about, just tell us about your 3 businesses and how it really involves the business world today, or especially the business in Sri Lanka.
Yes, that's a very relevant question, Kosala, because I think with the pandemic, we were really pushed to re-engineer our business, right? We were predominantly catering to the tourists, but with 0 tourists, we re-engineered the business to cater to the locals. But how much can the locals also support us? There's so little that a local business can really, the locals can support a business like ours. So I've been thinking, and I've been a marketing profession and been in the marketing for the longest time, and I thought it's might as well, why not use my talents to open a like a the Siren is a marketing process outsource company. So if you look at who works with me at the Siren are also predominantly females, because I've kind of created a platform for females to join me, and we, from marketing strategy to CSR, sustainability strategies, from digital marketing, social media marketing, so the A to Z, the entire process. But we are not a typical agency. We are a marketing process outsource company. I think that might be a very few in the country. So that's my brainchild. Also, our CSR, if you look at it, it is to kind of create a platform for females who have left the corporate to look after family or children to get back into the corporate world. So maybe they can work with me for 1 or 2 years and then they get into the corporate sector, where they keep themselves kind of current. So that's one business, and then Handun Villas, of course. And then the third one I started this year, that's Elixir Ceylon Private Limited, which is actually we are on a humble journey to uplift the coconut industry in Sri Lanka. Also entrepreneurship, because when like I told you before, I speak to a lot of small-time entrepreneurs, all domestic scale. But their products are really good. So we have personal care products like the handmade soaps to all luxury items, the body butters to the body lotions. And then we have the coconut-based food, the coconut jams, the coconut treacle, the coconut chips, similarly, and then handicraft items, all coconut shell-based handicraft, then the spoons to the candles to all of that. So that's my third business.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting thing about the coconut industry. Obviously, Sri Lanka is one of the main exports in Sri Lanka is coconut, and then diversifying. So how can the private sector get involved with the government sector, especially in this in the export market of your coconut business that you're running, or is it, or do you concentrate only on local base?
Actually, if you look at our website, we have an online shop which is www.elixirceylon.com. We have island-wide delivery as well as international shipping. So we are looking at exports already. I think the personal care products, coconut-based, handmade luxury items have not been, I would say, not been really thought through, not given an opportunity, I would say. So I think it's maybe the time for us to really look at the business seriously and look at export.
Now, coming back to the first one that you were mentioning about the digital marketing side and all of the marketing, how hard it is, especially with the ongoing situations that is not only locally but also globally going, in terms of marketing aspects, how are the other companies taking it, like in terms of their marketing budgets, their advertising budgets and all that?
It's tough, Kosal, it's tough because the very first budget that's cut is marketing, and then goes the training and development budgets. So it's been tough for us as well, but saying that, there is a lot of opportunity in the SME sector because we work as a marketing outsource company. So you don't have to invest in a marketing department, say. Here we are, a set of professionals to run your marketing division for you. So that is a cost-effective solution for the SME sector predominantly.
So let's come to the main point. Handun Villas is obviously a boutique hotel that you used to run, and especially on more based to the foreign traveler. Well, for the past 1.5 years, how have we been able to sustain with less travel from foreigners and all that?
Yes, very good question once more, Kosala. Actually, like I said, we re-engineered the entire business because we had not even marketed. We used to do subtle marketing in Sri Lanka, but predominantly it was overseas. And so when the tourists just stopped, the inflow stopped entirely, we had no other option but to re-engineer our business, from the menu planning to then the
So when
staff,
you say re-engineering, it's restructuring the entire process of the
entire process, because if you look at the foreigner, they have the breakfast, they are on the beach, they come back and then they have dinner. But our local customer, the consumer is different, you know. So from a BB menu to a full board menu to cater to the local market. So we did all of that and then started marketing completely to the locals. So that's how we have been surviving thus far.
And how is the response now with the country opening up in almost every avenue, tourism gradually coming into the country? How has the response been for the last 2-3 months?
I would say response has been there had been inquiries since October, mid-October onwards. There have been inquiries. Inquiries are coming in and the bookings are coming in as well, Kosala. Saying that, I can say since the holidays are coming up, locals are traveling, so restrictions are being laid off. Business is okay.
Okay, the question now to me is, now with the opening up of the country, the arrival of the tourist, and then obviously since you've now restructured yourself to the local market, how are you going to collaborate both together?
We have no option, Kosala, because we have to, because we have kind of, I think, created a names amongst the locals as well for a quiet, relaxed getaway. So we will have to continue to service the local customer as well, because we've survived thus far with the local customers. So I want to be able to host them.
Yeah, and the other thing is, with the country opening and with the tourism coming in, where do you see Sri Lanka going in within the next 1 to 2 years, especially in terms of tourism and travel from overseas?
Right. So I think the Tourist Development Authority is doing a lot of promotions overseas as we speak. And
I think the best example is the expo happening in Dubai.
Yes. Similarly, there are many promotions that took place in Russia, Ukraine. So I'm really confident that we will see inflow very soon.
In terms, do you think that the tourism ministry and the private sectors who run the hotels and all need to get together into some collaboration where you can really boost this thing up more from what is currently happening? Is there a collaboration with the government sector and the private sector in terms of tourism industry?
Actually, Kosala, if you look at the forecast for 2025 by the government, which is $10 billion, it's a whopping number,
yeah.
Right? I think we can improve in terms of the collaboration, because if you look at the skill shortage in the country, right, though we see a forecast in the tourism arrivals, the skill shortage, what are we doing with regards to skilled labor in the tourism industry? So these are little things that we need to start working on now, so that we don't have issues later on.
How is the hotel industry especially taking it up? Because we know that a lot of people who worked in the hotel industry have now started doing various jobs. So in terms of staff, or in terms of, as you said, skilled workers, like from chefs to waiters to barmans to all that, how hard it is now? Is there skilled labor available in Sri Lanka that people want to come back into the hotel industry?
Kosala, don't forget this fact, right? Yeah. Now, Sri Lanka is opening up. Yeah. Similarly, our competitive countries are opening up as well, right? And they will attract the cream of the skilled workforce from the country, unless otherwise we don't look after our skilled workforce, right? Let's say we have no option but the skilled workers migrate, or rather go on a contract basis for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, right? But what are we doing to fill that gap is my question, yeah. Right? So I think that private sector, government sector partnership is pretty important to, with these vocational training skill development programs, or it can be the women task force, why not we get skilled labor from women, give them an opportunity, plus the youth. What are we doing to attract the youth into the tourism industry? So there are various tactics that can be done, and we all should start working on.
Yeah. So I would say any challenges that you see that you talked about the possibilities and talk about areas that we need. Any other challenges that you see that is important in terms of bringing in the tourism industry, the business sector going berserk within the next few years?
Yes, the most important thing, like I said, Kosala, is that what I am foreseeing is a skill shortage, right? If we do not act upon it, we are not going to be able to compete in the international market, and we are going to be serving the lower end of the tourism only, and which I don't think any of us want to be. We want to be serving the luxury customer.
Yes, I think recently, if you look at it, if you look at places like Valigama, Arugambe, and all that, we are attracting some tourists, especially in the surfing sector. So how will that affect Sri Lanka? Like, say, are we having enough to cater to them?
Yes, we do. We do, because I think Sri Lanka has positioned ourselves as a good surfing destination with Thirikatiya to Valigama, SK Town. So we have done it, and we have the capability as well to improve further on it.
So going further on, it's always been a challenge, definitely, with the ongoing pandemic. And another topic that you brought up, we have skilled workers in Sri Lanka, but trying to go overseas because of the opportunities opening up. And obviously, we see a lot of Sri Lankans trying to migrate overseas, go for various things. What is your take on this?
Okay. It's two ways, Kosala, because it's, let's say, me as an entrepreneur, right? If I can't give a person a job with a basic whatever that he needs to get by, right? It is not fair for me to ask the person to stay back, right? So, but I would say, if there are better opportunities, please, yes, by all means go, but come back, right? And we can all work together.
And another challenge that we see is, obviously, there were a lot of hotels that were taken into quarantine centers, converted into hospitals. Now, gradually, with the quarantine period and the quarantine law changing with the arrival of tourists and people from overseas, how are those hotels going to really come back to what they were?
It's going to be difficult, simply because running a hotel is not an easy task. There's a lot of maintenance involved, especially if you're a beach front property, right? Huge maintenance costs. So, but I think sooner or later we will have to pull up our socks and be ready for the tourist arrivals. That's my take on it.
Because you see, you normally say, if you look at seasons, from December to March is normally a tourist season that you look at from certain avenues. But with these hotels now, as you mentioned, need to going in for big refurbishment. So do we have the capacity, especially with top hotels, especially in the Colombo sector, going in for quarantine centers and hospitals? So does Sri Lanka have the capacity to cater for the needs currently? As you said, they're looking at billions within 2025.
Yes. That's a very tricky question to answer, Kosala, because if you look at the rise of construction material, right? Just now we got a message saying, cement prices have gone up. So how is that going to affect the construction of these, or rather refurbishments of these establishments, is a question mark.
So it's going to be a very big challenge that Sri Lanka is going to, especially with the tourism industry opening. But still, there are a lot of people who are really willing to make it to Sri Lanka, because they feel that so with the ongoing pandemic, has Sri Lanka been given the green light to travel by other countries?
I would say not all, but there are markets that people are coming down, Russia, Ukraine. You can see the tourist inflows. I think it just, there are speculations all over as well, Kosala, because pandemic is going to be around. So it all depends on where, what, how happens, right? So depending on that, it's very difficult for us to really predict. And that's some of the reasons I feel that most of the investments are on hold as well in tourism, because of you are unable to forecast. Unlike, because we did not have a pandemic last decade, right? We just could forecast and we just went on with our construction. But today it's not the case.
Well, obviously, with the quarantine period going off, and obviously if you're vaccinated, that you can enter into a country, do you think that Sri Lanka might be at risk by doing this without the quarantine period? People coming into the country, going into the towns, going into the cities. Can Sri Lanka be hit by something again?
Of course, if you look at other countries, if you look at Maldives, look at Singapore, right? They are open, right? It is a risk for everybody, but are we going to financially be like this because tourism was the third largest revenue generator in the country, right? Don't forget that, you know, and we've lost so much of billions of dollars, right? And this is just net revenue, right? Unlike other industries, this is just net revenue, right? And it is in the country, so we need that dollar inflow. That's my take on it. We need to have the
I think that's
tourists
a
back.
good way to really express that. Yes, you need to make sure that it, because you see there are a lot of people saying don't open up, don't do this, don't do that, but then you need to go on, because if you take countries in the European countries like UK and other, they do still have many cases coming, but they still go through many guidelines and make sure that they keep their financial flow going. So coming back, I think another market that Sri Lanka really needs to look at, especially in the tourism industry, is the destination wedding industry, isn't it?
Yes.
And because you see there are a lot of inquiries into destinations. So how do you look at the destination wedding market in Sri Lanka?
I think we have been catering to the destination wedding market before as well. I think it will continue to grow. Also, the MICE tourism as well.
Yeah.
So I think it will continue to grow. That's my take on it.
Yeah. So do you think that having getting destination wedding, because they come in groups, they come in big groups, because especially if you look at the Indian market that come in for destination wedding, it's groups of 200, 300 in huge groups. So do you think that the tourism ministry and the tourism industry is not giving enough prominence to this, or they're not looking at how to bring in more of this into Sri Lanka?
I think Kosala, the Tourism Development Authority is doing a lot of work. Destination weddings have been around in Sri Lanka, and I think we have the infrastructure to cater to the market as well. And I know for a fact we are working on it, we are pitching on it, and yes, I think the government has given, and especially with the new chairperson, Mrs. Kimali Fernando, she's doing a tremendous job. Undoubtedly, she's taking the country to the next level, trying to help as much as possible. So I think it's fingers crossed and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail in the coffin, because she's doing a wonderful job, because she's been really traveling around, she's been talking about and trying to bring in a lot of things. I think Sri Lanka is on the move towards bringing in a lot of tourism into Sri Lanka, because there are some countries, especially people used to travel to the Europe during the time. But then I think what we are looking at is even to bring that tourism travelers into a country like Sri Lanka, which will bring us a lot of revenue, which we definitely, as you said, we need the dollars.
We need the dollars, yeah.
So coming into the final session, what do you feel like? So how do you look at it in a nutshell for Sri Lanka moving forward in the tourism industry with the pandemic, and how do we overcoming it and going forward?
Right.
In a positive manner.
Definitely. In a very positive manner, Kosala, I think the ministry as well as the Tourism Development Authority, they are doing a fantastic job. They are undoubtedly. Also saying that like the loopholes we have in terms of the skill development, right? Opportunities for women, right, to get into the skilled labor cadre in tourism, right? If you look at other parts of the world, it's over 50%, right? Whereas Sri Lanka is less than 10% female representation in the tourism industry, right? Similarly, youth employment, right? How can we make the industry so attractive to the youth, right? We can look at these things, right? We have the capability, and we have the know-how. So saying that it's just private sector and the government sector partnership that is required to make this work.
Just before we wind up, do you think that Sri Lanka is in par with the other countries around when it comes to how the plans to bring develop the tourism?
I think so. Because if you look at the statistics, in 2018, $4.4 billion, right? 2019 Easter tax, $3.7 billion. So we are it is small comparatively to larger players, but we have plans. We have plans to move. So yes, we can.
And I think you said a very good thing. The government sector, the private sector, they need to come together to make sure that. I think we've had a very good discussion on how tourism and travel in Sri Lanka needs to move forward, and especially to have a very positive note that it needs to move forward. and how you can develop it, especially with bringing in more skilled workers, getting involved with the youth. Yeah, that's something that we will all have to look forward, the youth involvement in this industry. So thank you very much, Nayomi, for sharing all that important information with us on Business Today, and we hope and wish you all the very best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Kosala. Thank you so much for having me. Good night.
Yeah. Well, with that, we come to the conclusion of another episode of Business Today. Hope you had a very good insight on how the tourism industry needs to kickstart here in Sri Lanka. Private or government, we need to move on. Well, till we meet again on our next episode of Business Today, it's a good night to you.